Hi, and thank you for attending another episode of This Week in Plymouth. I am your host and your town manager, Derek Brindisi. In this episode, we are joined by our town clerk,
Hi.
McElreath. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me once again.
I was just saying, I think you're probably the person that has attended this show the most in the last 2 years. So we appreciate your support of the show.
My pleasure.
But I think you're so popular because I think this year you guys have 5 elections that you guys have to cover.
Yep, we have 2 under the belt and 3 more to go.
3 more to go. Busy town clerk's office.
2024, yep.
So here we are talking about the May local election, which is, when is that going to take place, Kelly?
That is Saturday, May 18th. The polls open at 7 a.m. and they will close at 7 p.m. at the 14 different polling locations across the town of Plymouth.
So we have 14 polling locations.
Yep.
7A, 7 to 7P.
Yep.
On May 18th, Saturday, which is also the same day as the Plymouth hometown cleanup.
Exactly, yep.
So a lot happening on May 18th.
So as you're voting, you can pick up some trash on your way, some litter on your way.
Give you a purple bag on the way out.
Yeah.
But before all that happens, right, before all that magic happens, what's happening prior to that? And where we have mail-in voting that's coming up, and then early voting that's coming up. Want to talk about mail-in voting first?
Yeah, so as everybody knows, because I've talked about it a lot in the past, is we have the Votes Act that was passed in 2022 that allows vote-by-mail ballots to go out. And the state sends out the postcards. So I'm sure many of your viewers remember getting that postcard sometime in January, and it had the 3 state elections, the presidential primary, the state primary in September, and the November election, the presidential election. Mm-hmm. It also had a box that said all elections. And we had over 9,000 of our voters return that postcard to the town clerk's office and check that box. So that means we have an election. It's a local election. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't necessarily vote in that. They think more of the state election, but we can talk a little bit about how important local elections are. Sure. So we are in the process today. About 4,000 ballots are going out, and tomorrow the remaining 4,000 ballots, 5,000 ballots will be going out. So definitely keep an eye on your mailbox because if you checked that box, you're getting a ballot. And so we're giving you a very easy opportunity to vote in this important local election.
So those 9,000 ballots were mailed out this week.
Yep.
Folks will be receiving them, and
yep.
They just simply fill out the ballot, seal it, and send it back.
Yep. They place it in an envelope, and please make sure you sign the envelope because we cannot count that ballot unless that envelope that has your name and address on it is signed.
Gotcha. All right. So that's mail-in voting.
Mail-in
now,
voting.
my favorite I want to talk
about
is
your favorite.
Is early voting.
Yes.
So let's talk about early voting. When is that going to start?
So we're going to start that on Thursday, May 9th. We're going to do it for 6 days. Thursday, May 9th, Friday, May 10th, Saturday, May 11th, mm-hmm. Monday, May 13th, Tuesday, May 14th, and Wednesday, May 15th. And for the weekdays hours, it's going to be business town hall hours. So mm-hmm. we're mostly open till 7:30 to 4, on Fridays till 12, and on Tuesdays till 6 p.m. I'm sorry, 6:30 p.m. Yep. How do I forget that? And then that Saturday will be open 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. for anyone to come in and cast a ballot. In-person early voting, there's no application involved. You just come in and check in just as if you were checking in at your polling location, mm-hmm. but it's located right at the town hall, right outside the town clerk's office.
So I know you've done that the last couple of times. The early voting is going to take place in the atrium area,
correct.
Right outside your office.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Where in the former location, I think, was at the Great Hall.
Correct. Yep. It's if you have the opportunity to park on Russell Street mm-hmm. or South Russell Street, that's it's closer to get to the area of early voting in person through those doors.
Have you seen an uptick either in mail-in voting or early voting in the last few elections?
So last May, we offered in-person early voting, and just so folks are aware, it's not something that's automatic by state law. The select board, the Board of Registers and the select board allow us to do this because we want to give all voters the opportunity to vote in a way that is convenient for them. So that being said, select board voted last night to allow me to do this for May, for the local election. And you had asked me a question. I kind of forgot. I kind of diverted. I'm sorry.
I was just wondering if we've seen Because
an
you've done
uptick.
this for the last 2 years since
Yeah.
you've been here. Have you seen,
So
is it growing, people really getting
I
used to
believe
it?
so. I think there's a lot of people that would, that it's not that they don't trust the mail, but they would like to do it in person. So there's a lot of people that will, come in, make a point to come into town hall to do it, especially if they hadn't requested the vote by mail ballot. Instead of trying to wait for the mail to come, they can just come in person and do it. And last year we did it the day that the collector's office started selling beach passes. So we had many residents that came in and bought their beach pass and then walked across the hall and voted. So, yeah.
So, that may have skewed the numbers a little bit because sometimes beach passes can be more popular than voting.
Yes, unfortunately.
So we have a race that's coming up. Planning board, school committee, select board.
Correct.
And so that'll be on Saturday. One thing I like about early voting is because Saturdays can be a challenge, especially for families.
Correct.
Right? Running their kids to softball or baseball or soccer, and the early voting allows you at your own leisure to come in and vote, which
Correct.
is why I really like it.
Yep.
And especially on Tuesday nights until 6:30. So even if you work until 4 or 5 o'clock, you can still come Tuesday night till 6:30. But that being said, we have a couple races happening.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about those?
So on the website, under the town town clerk's web page, there's information that says annual town election information to voters. If you click on that page, all the hours that I just gave you for in-person early voting will be there. Update on the vote by mail. And lastly, there's a link to all 18 ballots for the different precincts. So keeping in mind we have 18 different precincts. So each ballot has the select board race, although that's uncontested this year. There's 2 people running for the planning board. I believe there's 5 people running for the 3 seats for the school committee. And then housing authority and redevelopment authority.
So those 5 boards, everybody in town will vote on.
Correct. Those are the townwide races, offices, and that's on every ballot. And then we have town meeting members. So as you know, we have representative town meeting. So this is the opportunity for voters to choose who was going to represent them at town meeting and vote for how local government operates. So we have some precincts that we have like 5 people running for 3 positions, and then we have 1 or 2 precincts that don't have any candidates, and so those would be write-in candidates. So if anyone's listening and they might be interested in what's involved in becoming a town meeting member, take a look, and if there's some openings, feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you about what's involved in that, and maybe you can run a write-in campaign for that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're right, though. So, a lot of folks are always interested in what's happening in town government, but sometimes don't understand how they can get involved. And they can get involved in many different ways. They can volunteer for boards and committees. But on May 18th, like you just pointed out, they can run for their local precinct and be a town meeting member, 162 town meeting members that really make the decisions on what's going to happen, whether it's, how we spend our tax dollars, what bylaws are going to be created, and so on and so forth.
Correct.
That really comes through the legislative branch, which is our town meeting members.
Exactly. So that's an important. That's where you can get down to, talking to your neighbor because they represent your precinct, so they are your neighbor, and you can talk to them and tell them what's important to you.
That's great. So, if folks are still interested, as our town clerk pointed out, go to the website at www.plymouth-ma.gov.
Yep.
Go to the town clerk's website. You can see all this information that's available. As we pointed out, mail-in voting has already started. Early voting will begin in another week or so. I want to thank the League of Women Voters who've done all that they can to encourage folks to vote. So typically, I think we get about 7,000 voters that come out during the local election. So there's been a big effort, not only by the League of Women Voters, but other precinct chairs who are really trying to get folks to come out and try to vote. We need more participation in our local election.
Correct. It's easy to call a town meeting member or a select board member than it would be to even call your state rep or your states or your U.S. senator, which we have more people that come out and vote for that in September and November than we do for the local election.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming
My pleasure.
on again.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm sure we'll see you in a couple months like we always do.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks.